Welcome back to the shop. Today we have a 2002 Ford Explorer that has a slew of issues to it, but today we're going to concentrate on a door ajar light issue. Basically all the rest of the doors in the vehicle, you can open and close them. The module and the lights respond, except for the driver's door. So we already have it narrowed down to the driver's door, and I'll show you how to narrow that down without the scan tool. And then we're going to go into diagnosing exactly why. Now, this is a common concern on any of the Ford vehicles. I would say the Explorers, F-150s, Expeditions, Super Duties too, Excursions, all those models from that era. They have the same door ajar switch that uses a metal ball with the detent spring for the switch inside of there that actually ground out and send the ground through the module and tell you the door is open or closed. So I'm thinking that ball in there is getting stuck. They like to get corroded and stuck in one position no matter what. So we're going to try a few different things with rust penetrant and WD-40. I'll show you how that works. And if that doesn't work, which it may be, depending on how bad the switch is stuck in there, we're going to go into diagnosing, is it the switch or the wiring? And so we're going to go through that. And then also on the Explorers, what's common is for the door ajar A-pillar harness there, it was basically built too short. So you're opening and closing the door all these years, and you're constantly tugging on the wires in there. So there's no corrosion issues, but all that tugging, it actually makes a clean break on the wire inside of there. So we may go that far. It's something to be aware of if you're having any kind of issues with the front doors, power windows, door locks, anything like that. You got to look at that harness and the A-pillar there. So the first thing we're going to do is the least invasive, and that's spraying the switch with WD-40 and rust penetrant and working it. And then after that, we're going to start delving into it a little bit further. So let's get started. Okay, so this is a real easy test to see if it is a stuck door switch and if you can actually get it back working again. What we're going to do is we're going to take a flathead screwdriver, okay, have that on hand. We're going to open the door we found as being suspect, and we're simply going to spray down into the door latch here, which down below right about here is where that door switch is at. So all this rust penetrant, WD-40, all that good stuff is going to trickle down to it. It may come out your drain holes down here. We can clean that up later. We're just going to soak it and work it and see if we can get it to start responding. Now, for mine, I'm using the scan tool to verify, but again, when you close the door, the dome light should go off. You might have an audible tone, stuff like that. So the first thing you want to do is use rust penetrant, any kind, your favorite kind, okay? And we're going to get it down inside of here, and we're just going to load it up. And this won't hurt the paint. Okay, we're going to let that go into there a little bit. Soak down through there, and let's put a little more in there, okay, and then we're simply going to start closing the door and opening it. Over and over again. And what that's doing is it's working the switch inside of here, and if that rust penetrant has gotten down to it yet, it's going to work that rust penetrant and do its job also. Now, of course, your dome lamp's not going to respond right away, whereas my scan tool will. So you have to close the door after a couple tries and then watch your dome light. And I always start off with the rust penetrant first so it can do its job. And if it actually works and the switch starts working again, then you can follow up with some WD that can really get in there, lubricate, protect, and do its job. So it's always a good idea to use some good rust penetrant here and really try to get that switch working, because these switches can be very expensive. And this can also be used as a preventative so this never happens in the first place. Keep them lubed and protected. So go ahead and we'll keep trying it. And nothing. We're not getting nothing on the scan tool, and of course the dome light is not responding. So at this point, we have to go a little bit further into it. We're going to pull a door panel off. It's pretty easy on here. And then we're going to test the wiring over and over again with a trick I'm going to show you. And after that, we're going to either condemn the switch, or we're going to see that the wiring is an issue, like the A-pillar like I was talking about there, that wire chase. So let's pull the door panel off. Okay, so taking a door panel off on one of these is actually pretty simple. It kind of just hooks into there. You do have to realize what to take off first though, and that's this trim piece right here. So we're going to go ahead and start popping that up, okay, like so. Pull it off of there, and then this can come up and off of there so we can access more screws and stuff like that. Now down below here, there's a 5.5 millimeter screw here, and here, I recall these being 7 millimeter, but I'm getting old, I guess. I'll keep those to the side. There's none on the sides on these. Like I said, it kind of just hooks into there. But we do need to get this off of here, and you pick up on this, and you kind of just pop it off of here. It hooks in weird. What it does is it hooks in up here, it snaps in, and back here, it hooks underneath the door handle here. So you gotta make sure you pry up here and pop it off of there. There we go. That's one thing you gotta make sure of, else you're gonna break this tang off of there and it won't sit right no more. After that, up in the harness a little bit, and these simply unclip and out of here. Maybe a little hard to get to, hard to unplug. Especially this one, the release tang is right here instead of over here. Genius. That's where a hook type pick like this comes in. Ultra handy. Looks like someone's been here before. Which I'm sure they have at this mileage. Look at that. You got a custom holder for access. So we'll get the door switch out of the way, and then the wires out of the way, and right through here is another 5.5 millimeter. So we'll get that out of there. Okay, right there. And these are all the same length. And after that, this should simply lift up and off of here. There's going to be a switch up here for your mirrors once it pops up off of there, but see, it just kind of lifts up and falls off. Now at this point, if you didn't put the window up already, we need to do that. So we're going to reconnect the switch real quick. I forgot. Put our key in and put it all the way up. And we're going to make sure pull our keys off so we don't lock them in. And this way, with that glass out of the door, we're going to be able to access the switch inside of here. So now these, they come off of here pretty easy. They barely stick onto there. And you just need to pull this off of here just enough. Just try not to tear it. These get old and brittle after a while. And it's bound to happen. But it definitely has its purpose as a water shield on here. And then what I usually do is something like this. Hook it behind there. It's out of our way without pulling the whole thing off. At this point, we're going to go over here to the Door Ajar Switch, and we'll start looking at that. I'll get you inside here with the GoPro. Now before you start getting into here and try and unclip that switch in there, there's a door window run piece, like a foot long right here inside of there, that's right in your way. What you want to do is take out this screw right here, which is the very bottom, and this one, and that whole window run will drop out of the way. These three are for the latch right here. We'll leave those in. So we're going to take those out. They're T27, so make sure you have it on hand if you are getting into this. T25s will strip these out unless they're very loose. So just make sure you keep that in mind. And this whole piece comes out of here. So here's the two screw points, okay? And then here's just the window run down there that helps it from shattering. At this point, you can look inside of here and you can really get your hand in there, unclip that connector, we can start doing some testing. Okay, now looking through that same hole over here, let's get you deep and inside of here. Right there, that black box is the door latch, and that switch right there is the controls for the door latch for the actuator inside of there. You don't want that one. What you want is that one right there. You see the metal switch that pops in the housing, and then there down below is the connector for it. Unclip that, and we're going to pull it out here to do some testing on it. Okay, now for filming purposes, I pulled out more of the door harness than you need to, just so I can get out there and I can show you exactly what we're testing here. Again, it's the black connector, not the gray one we're going to be testing on here. So let's make sure you clean off all the rust penetrant off of the connector so we can start testing it. And then give it a good visual. There's only 2 pins on here, and you want to make sure that there's no corrosion in there that's maybe causing connectivity issues or broken wires in the backside. Besides that, we're going to start testing it by jumpering the 2 pins on there. Now one side's a constant ground, and then the other side's the ground input to the module, so we can see the door is closed or open. So we're simply going to use a paper clip, and you want to use the ultra thin paper clips, not the big thick ones, and we're going to jumper the 2 terminals, and these will fit right in here. And once it's in there, even with the key out, you should be able to hear if the tone comes on, and of course you can look over and see the dome lamp comes on. Now if it's been off this long like this, and then we're jumpering this, and then pulling it out, that's when it's going to do it, not when you first insert it. So the light just came on. No tone on this particular vehicle. Most vehicles there's a tone though. And the dome lamp is on right now. So we can put it in there. Now of course there's a delay on the dome lamps in these, so you gotta wait for that. But the big thing that we're testing here is if it reacts when we pull it out of there after it's already closed. And here's a close-up of what I'm seeing down here and how to test it. You can see if I put a hand behind there, you can kind of see it. I have a paper clip in there jumpering the 2 terminals. So right now it thinks the door is closed when it's receiving a ground, okay, and the dome light's off. And you can see in the scan tool it says closed. You can't see it, but I can. And you pull it out, and there you go. You can see that that's responding over and over again. Like I said, you put it back in, I can see in the scan tool it's responding right away over and over again, okay? But on yours, when you put it back in there, which it knows the door is closed now, it's going to have a delay for that interior dome lamp on there. If you're impatient and you have a remote fob, you can arm the vehicle and it'll honk 1 time and you'll know everything's armed and it's seeing all the doors are closed. If it honks twice, that means one of the doors are open and it didn't arm. There's the delay, it's gone. So it can be that simple to diagnose these, and this applies for a lot of vehicles. A lot of the Ford vehicles use the same kind of switch. And because this is so common, this has been my method for testing any of these door ajar issues like this, where the switch is not working. Is it the wiring or the switch? First things first, rust penetrant, get it working, get the ball unstuck in there. And secondly, pull the door panel off, jumper it over and over again, and either watch the dome lamp or scan tool, and it's diagnosed that quick. It's worked for me over and over again, day in, day out for 10, 15 years now, so it's definitely reliable. Even without a scan tool, you can tell the switch is the issue. Now, you're probably wondering or thinking to yourself, this guy's not too thorough. What if the door wires that go through the A-pillar have an issue, and because the door's open, everything's working properly? Well, what you can do is jumper it once again, and watching your scan tool or your dome lamp once it goes out, and go over there and shake that A-pillar harness. And I'll show you what that looks like. I'll try to get you over here without too much shaking. Let's see here. Alright, so it's right there. That's the A-pillar harness right here. It goes from the door to the A-pillar. What you can do is squeeze and move this around on here, shake it, and watch your PIDs on there to see if it's open or not. Now on this one, wiggling the harness on here actually provided a fault for us. Okay, you can see that the door, it thinks the door is ajar. On a scan tool, it thinks it's ajar. Okay, yet that switch is still jumpered in here. So that doesn't necessarily mean the switch is good or bad, but it does tell us by wiggling the harness, doing a wiggle test on here, which, like I said, these harnesses, they have a real issue with wires breaking in here and coming apart. It's a good place to check. Also, this vehicle has a problem where it won't lock or unlock. That's a real common one, actually, to have an issue in the harness here, right here in this little part right here. So we're gonna get into this. It's gonna be hard to film, but I'll show you. I'll probably find some here. Let me wiggle test this and see if we get it back. Up. You saw it flicker, didn't you? Yeah. So there's definitely an issue in there. I might have fully broken the wire now by jerking with it. Either way, we're going in. Okay, so here we are in the door jamb here. This is the best angle I could get. What you want to do is pull this boot off from both sides here, and we can start working on the wires that are in here if they're broken, or you know, at least be able to verify if they are or not broken. We can go further with testing, but doing the wiggle test right in this area, we already know something's up. And like I said, the door lock and unlock does not work from this door. And because they are intertwined, you can have issues with power windows, door locks, all that stuff on the passenger side because of right here also. Now what I find is best is to pop this boot through so you can go outside the door and you can slide this whole thing back. Make it a little easier. First thing we gotta do is get this sucker out of here. There we go. And you can slide the whole thing back. And you can start to see if there's broken wires in here or not. Okay, so here's the harness fully exposed by getting rid of the boot. Now what we're looking for is a yellow and black wire. You can see there's a couple of yellow ones in here. What we're looking for should be a really small gauge. This one's pretty thick. All it's doing is sending a ground reference back to the module. So we're looking for a nice small wire like this one. It's not that one. There's a couple more yellows up here. Here's a yellow and black. You can see it there. Just give it a tug this way and this way. We can see if it's broken in there or not, or just barely holding on by a string. And also check the rest of the wires in here for the same thing. Like I said, it's pretty common on these Explorers. I've fixed a lot of things, a lot of different weird issues by going into these harnesses. So you need to look through and be thorough, for sure. And like I said, the door ajar is not working on here, and the power door locks are not working on here. Both lock and unlock, I believe, which is also ground based. It just sends out to the module. It does that from there. So everything looks fine on here, but you have to be really freaking thorough. Here's a main ground for the Windows. This is for Windows too. It's all the high amperage, thick wires. Up. There it is. Now, I don't know what this is for, but it is black, so it usually is ground, and because of its size, its gauge, I'm guessing it provides the ground for reference ground outputs to all the modules on here. So hopefully this is the cause of it, because the wire for the door ajar, the switch, is fully intact in here, no problems at all. So this might be supplying the ground for everything: the door ajar switch, the unlock lock switch, and maybe some other things on the door here that is not working. So let's go ahead and patch this up. Now, the easiest way to repair something in the door right here is to get that boot fully out of the way. I mean, it'll be a pain otherwise to fight around it. Now, what these have on them for strain relief is a piece of the boot right here that's attached to it, and it tapes around and around the harness. So you need to cut that off of there, okay? And they'll be flopping like that in the breeze, and you'll be able to slide it down through the harness here and get this one over here also. There we go. Something like that. And after that, what I did is I sliced the tape on here, being very careful of the wires, and then you can inspect the rest of the wires right here where this one broke, and of course get the good end of the brake. I like to cut it back a few inches on either side from the braking point, and we'll simply patch it and run it through and retape it up. Now, what I use is butt connectors like this, which is what Ford tells us to use, with their crimper that makes sure that you crimp it all the way every time. And then we're going to use, where'd it go? Here we go. Heat shrink like this that has glue inside of it. You can see it shiny inside of there. And what that'll do is it'll ooze out on either side and strengthen that joint on there, and also keep it out of any kind of weather elements, corroding issues. So that's the repair we're going to do on this one. We're also going to check the rest of the wires down here, make sure none's damaged. We're going to fix it, and then we're going to go ahead and start testing all these options on here. Like I said, the power locks were not working, the switch. So we're going to test that, and then we're going to go back to over here and see if we still need that switch or not. I'm thinking we do. This was just an additional fault on here. Again, all common issues on the Explorers. Alright, now in the last video where I had a wiring repair, I did not show it, and everybody was kind of put off by that, so I'll show you the other half of this repair on here so you guys get a general idea how it's done. Basically, you're putting in another length of wire, okay, same size, and we're giving a little bit of extra length here, just a little bit, so we don't have that pull issue again. And what I do is I put the crimp in the terminal onto the side that's easiest, okay? This side's a little harder to get to. And after that's on there, we're going to take our heat shrink and we're going to slide it onto the wire and put it back in there a little bit. And then on the other side here, well, both sides of the butt connector, you're going to strip about a 3/8 of an inch or so off of there. And here you can see why I do the easy side first, and then take our new wire and butt connector. We get locked into the jaw on here, and we can take it in here, we can work with it, and it's very easy to get it in there. You're gonna make sure you get all the strands in there. So hopefully you can see this. And these particular butt connectors have a stop in there. Once it's fully in there, then you crimp it. And the good thing about these crimpers is that they crimp all the way, so you get a nice tight connection and won't release until the crimp's done. So you can't mess it up. And after it's done, either way, I do go in there on either side and I yank on it. You know, I make sure it will not come out of there, and it's a nice tight connection in there. After that, we can slide it over. We're gonna center the heat shrink in there, okay? And then we're simply gonna torch it. So, got this nice little torch here. This is too freaking much though. Turn the gas down a little bit. Now you're supposed to use a flameless heat gun so you don't get any burnings on here of the heat shrink. As long as you keep moving around, you'll be just fine. Watch out for anything to do with the original tape on here, because it will start on fire pretty darn easy. So you're just heating it, moving around constantly until you start seeing the goop come out the ends there. That's the glue. At that point, it's really freaking hot. But what you want to do is kind of put it into place, okay? So that's nice and straight, or if you want an angle curve in there, that it's in that position, because then when this stuff dries up, it's pretty hard. It's kind of like hot melt glue, same idea. It's just lined on the inside there. So let this dry and harden up, and then we're gonna retape the harness going out with like a spiral type like they had on there, and then the boot will do the rest on there as far as protecting it. Okay, now that the ground is fixed in the door that was broken, we can once again test the entire circuit going back to the module to make sure it's getting the door ajar switch status. So right now it's jumpered, so it's getting a constant ground, it's thinking the door's closed. So we yank this, the light should go on indicating it's seeing the door as open. And after we plug it back in, the light should go out in a matter of seconds after the delay. Now also, the door unlock and lock switch was not working. They didn't complain about that, but I did notice it, and that again is ran by the ground. A lot of stuff nowadays on vehicles in general is ground based because it's less wear on the contacts. So we'll try that. And that all works once again on there for all the doors. Now of course this one's not going up and down because we're still disconnected over here. So at this point we're going to plug everything back in, all these connectors back into the lock actuator and the door ajar switch, and once again flick it back and forth with my screwdriver, and we're going to see if it responds or not. And of course I'll get the scan tool back out and watch it in live in real time here. Now that it's plugged back into the actual door ajar switch, we can flick it over and see if the light goes out. Oh, it went out. Wiring. We're still going to go ahead and spray this down all the doors so that they are, so that they're protected and loosened up as far as the ball contact in there. But yeah, it seems that it has worked. Again, you just keep testing this over and over again. Nice. So at this point, I'm going to put the door panel back on, reassemble the harness and all that stuff, clip everything back in, and just test it a couple more times and ship it, because this guy really doesn't have much money to spend on $70 door switches when it's not a necessary thing. They need brakes and stuff like that first. So overall, a good, cheap, actually no cost to them fix.